out of high school at a very young age. My now wife, who was my then girlfriend, were both 19 years old, and I find myself on the verge of having a child because she was pregnant, and we had to figure it out, right? And so, quite honestly, one of the things that was motivating me was that I was about to have a kid. I had to get something stable, something steady, something that would pay the bills, something that would have the insurance. And so it was military or this. And at 20 years old, I got my first call to come to work here at Pinal County, and kind of been here since, man. And there's two choices, and I'm hoping you're going to make the right one. One is to run away from that situation, and one is to dig your heels in and just take it on. And, I was never a runaway kind of guy. So we went at it. And I'll tell you what, I've been super lucky. Anybody that's in this career a long time knows that a wife that starts a career with you isn't always the wife that finishes a career with you. And I've been blessed to have a wife that is just a warrior, and she's put up with a lot of crap from me over the years and has blessed me by staying with me this long.
Did upbringing influence you in law enforcement?
I think it was being comfortable in both chaos and in the world of bad, right? So growing up, growing up in a bad area, I was one of just a couple white guys in my neighborhood, primarily Hispanic neighborhood. So growing up in that culture, those were my friends growing up. And I kind of talk about that in the book, how when you grow up in that inner city environment, you don't view it as bad. Like I didn't view my neighborhood as a bad neighborhood. It was just my neighborhood. And I didn't view the people I grew up with as bad dudes. They were just dudes I grew up with, dudes I went to school with. Some of them ended up doing bad things as they got older because they got wrapped up in the gangster stuff. But you're in and around that world, and I think it's natural to you. So when you get into cop work, it makes it so much easier because I already knew the games, I already knew the street. I wasn't afraid to go into these places. I wasn't afraid because I think a lot of our problem in the U.S. between any policing agency and the community we serve can be culture, right? So if I'm a white cop that has never been exposed to black culture or Hispanic culture, and I've lived in a white culture, that's what makes it uncomfortable, right? So when I go into that culture, I don't know how to navigate that because I've never been exposed to it. And I think that's where we get all twisted up because we don't understand them. And the people in those neighborhoods are like, you don't know our problems, you don't know our life, and therefore, we don't want to deal with you. But when you have exposure to that and you have an understanding of that, you can go into those neighborhoods, and no matter what the culture is, as long as you're willing to say, like, I don't understand it, but I want to know so I can, we can communicate and we can deal together because we have to live together. So I think that's what helped me in my career moving forward is I was comfortable doing all of that. And so I was naturally attracted to gangs and drugs because that's what I grew up around. So it made it very easy to police that kind of stuff because, again, the comfort level was there and the knowledge base was there. Our view was, we've got a job to do. We're on the side of righteousness. Yeah. It's not my job really to determine, did I have an effect on them or did I not? All I knew is that I wanted to be a pain in their side. And I wanted to put bad guys in jail. And if I could move my way up the ladder and put bigger bad guys in jail and have a greater effect. And I do feel that we definitely did good work. I feel that we saved lives. I feel that we did what we were supposed to do. And there was never, I don't really get discouraged by the justice system because to me, it's just a big game, man. And you got to know how to play the game and you got to know your position and you got to know your spot in life. And I do my part as a cop. My job is to enforce the law. The justice system as a whole, the prosecutors are going to do what they do. Defense is going to do what they do. It's not my problem. My problem is finding bad guys, flushing them out, putting them in jail, and then moving on to the next one. And I think we did a lot of that. We had a national effect with a local change. And so what you're talking about was our scouts. And so we have these things called scouts. They live on hilltops. And so these are Mexican cartel members that live on mountaintops out in the desert. And they carry their own radio system. They have, communication systems. and they coordinate the movements of the drugs or the people or whatever. And we were catching these guys. We were catching them with guns and all of the radios, the supplies, and everything. And so we kept catching them, and we're telling the U.S. attorneys, like, hey, these are cartel members that are helping facilitate the movement of drugs into our country, and they wouldn't prosecute them. And so we had a local prosecutor that asked me in a meeting. He said, hey, I'm the new prosecutor. What are you frustrated with? And so I told him what I was frustrated. I'm frustrated that we are not prosecuting these guys on mountaintops on U.S. soil that are controlling U.S. ground, coordinating drugs north into our country, and not being prosecuted when we catch them. And so we figured out a way to go after them, and we prosecuted them on a local level in our county first, and ended up embarrassing the U.S. Attorney's Office into doing their job. And then it spread across the whole Southwest. They used our model and started prosecuting these guys all the way across the Southwest border. Don't be a quitter. That would be my advice. Because if you look back historically, man, police work is ebbs and flows. We've had times in this country where we are absolutely despised and hated by those we are policing. And we've had times where we are absolutely loved. And it comes and it goes. And you have to ignore all that, man. You have to take the good with the bad. And honestly, again, if not us, then you should not get discouraged by that loud narrative, man. That's all noise. It's just noise. And you have to focus on your life, your career, the impact you're making. And I know it's tough sometimes because you get kind of this expanded view. And what happens to us as cops is we get real cynical, and we have this very myopic view that we think is a worldview, but it's not. And we get convinced because of the way our profession is designed that everybody is an a-hole, right? And everybody is bad. And that's because we're looking through this tunnel, and you end up dealing with a small percentage of the population, a high percentage of the time. And so when you're dealing with this small percentage, 100% of the time, it gives you this skewed view that everybody's like that. And when you break out of that and back up and take a broader look, you realize, like, oh man, that's only these people right here. And the majority of everybody is pretty damn good. And like you said, they appreciate law and order. They appreciate being protected. They don't want to do the jobs themselves. And so for those older guys and gals, just got to stick it out, man. It's easy to quit and say, oh, all is lost. But that's not how our country has survived, and that's not how our country is going to survive. If we have a bunch of quitters, then we're doomed, man.